Larry, so good to see you. We have an important question today. Is a trust a must? What every family needs to know about estate planning. So, when it comes to estate planning, trusts often sound complex or unnecessary, but depending on your assets and goals, trust can be a really powerful tool. So, let's start big picture. What is a trust?
Erin, I love talking about trust. As I always tell people, it's like a circle. Maybe another thing, like a suitcase that you put all your assets in,
Okay.
so you can avoid probate. You put it in there. Important to put it in there, and then you do not go through probate at all.
Okay. And we're going to talk more about probate in a second. But first, let's break down when does a trust make sense and who might be better off without one?
A trust, again, I stand on a soapbox about this all the time. A trust is good for married folks. If you're a homeowner, if you're a business owner, if you have children, so you can kind of put some guardrails on distributions and maybe some guardianship if you were to pass too soon, special needs, just anyone with any assets or homeowners to avoid the probate process to keep control.
Mhm. I'm glad you mentioned probate. I think a lot of people consider that a dirty word. So, how can a trust help us when it comes to probate, privacy, and control?
That's just it. A will, which is, in the state of Tennessee and in several states, they have different probate rules that follow a direction, step 10, 9, 8, step, all the way down the line. And it is very public. You can go down to your local courthouse and look at anybody's will and decide, see who they
Mm,
gave their assets to. Some people obviously don't like that. So a trust is private. So it's not a public item at all. So you're never going to have that asset. But I actually tell people more than that is just a control of, you go through a probate process at 6 to 12 months. It's very expensive. Depends on any complexity and so forth. Where a trust is lower cost, mainly though, you have control to know exactly what you set out to do is going to happen.
mhm. And what are the downsides or common misconceptions about trust that people should understand before setting one up?
Well, a misconception is that many people say, I want to do a trust so I can protect my assets. Well,
Mhm.
trust does not protect your assets. It just allows you to have control of the way that it's going to be distributed without going through the probate process. It's
I
just
see.
avoidance of probate. Now, there are several other trusts you can do to help with taxation or protecting assets and those kind of things. But for
Mhm.
the most part, that's a downside. The other
Mhm.
downside is I don't have enough money to have a trust. I don't need one. Now you could do a lot of transfers on death, payable on death. You can, your IRAs have beneficiaries. Sometimes you can do that and avoid the trust. I personally will tell you after 20 years of experience that people who try to do that, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, but more times than not, they mess something up. They forget something that does get drugged through the probate process.
Right, right. Okay, so last question, because I know you're always thinking about families and family legacy, even with a solid estate plan or trust, why are those beneficiary designations so important and how often should they be revisited?
Yeah, every couple years, you should really probably once a year at your review, you should revisit your beneficiaries and make sure you have the people in place. There's war stories that I've seen in 20 years from people creating a trust or a will and forgetting to change that will, and they were leaving assets to someone they didn't mean to. So a trust, when you hand that over, as a trust, you're still in charge. You have complete control. You give a trustee, a successor trustee, I call it the keys to the car, to make any financial decisions you need to. You should see the power of attorney. That's for your assets. If you do become where you can't control your assets, something happens, you come
Right.
incapacitated. They call that living probate, and or the healthcare directive where you can make some decisions. So very important to have all these documents reviewed on a yearly basis.
Right. So important when it comes to protecting, what's ours, but also ensuring that our family's taken care of no matter what happens. And again, like I said, Larry, I know you're always thinking about legacy planning and the whole family, taking care of everyone. So if somebody would like to sit down with you and determine if a trust makes sense for them and what kind of trust, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, they can call our office number, which is 615-216-1048, or go to our website, sfawealth.com.
Great. Larry, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Erin.